The war had lasted for 100 years. Princess stood at the tall window of her palace and watched the night sky. Somewhere beyond those stars, ships were burning, soldiers were dying, families were crying. She was tired of it all. Her people, had silver skin and eyes that glowed like moonlight. They lived for thousands of years. They could read minds and move objects with thought alone. They believed they were the greatest species in the galaxy, but the war had proven them wrong. The humans had surprised everyone. "Your Highness," said her advisor, he was old even by standards. His silver hair fell past his shoulders. "The Council has made their decision. They have accepted the peace terms." Did not turn from the window, and the condition. "A marriage between you and their diplomat, a human named." She closed her eyes. She had known this was coming, a political marriage to end the war. It was an old tradition used by many species across the galaxy. Two bloodlines joined together, two nations bound by something stronger than paper. "When?" she asked. "3 days." Finally turned, her advisor looked worried. She could feel his emotions without even trying. Fear, concern, something else she could not name. "You do not approve," she said. Hesitated. "It is not my place to approve or disapprove, Your Highness, but I must warn you. The Galactic Council has rules about humans. They are forbidden." "Forbidden?" Almost laughed. "We have been fighting them for a century. How can they be forbidden?" "Not forbidden to fight," said carefully. "Forbidden to bond with, forbidden to marry, forbidden to mix with." Walked to her desk and sat down. Her white dress flowed around her like water. "That sounds like old superstition. The Council fears many things that do not deserve fear." "Perhaps," admitted, "but the rule has existed for 10,000 years. Since before the First Empire fell, there must be a reason." "The reason is prejudice," said firmly. "Humans are young. They have only been in space for a few centuries. The older species look down on them. They create rules to keep them small." She picked up a document from her desk. It was the peace treaty. Her name was already at the bottom, waiting for her signature. "I will not let fear stop this peace. Too many have died." Bowed his head. "As you wish, Your Highness. I will make the arrangements." 3 days passed like a dream. Spent her time preparing. She read everything she could find about humans. They were strange creatures. They came from a small blue planet called Earth. They lived short lives, only 80 or 90 years. They could not read minds. They could not move things with thought. They had no natural weapons, no claws, no venom. And yet they had fought the Empire to a standstill. How, wondered, how did such weak creatures survive against us? The answer, she decided, was numbers. Humans bred quickly. They spread across their part of the galaxy like water spreading across a floor. For every ship that destroyed, the humans built 2 more. For every soldier killed, 3 took their place. It was not strength that made them dangerous. It was persistence. On the morning of her wedding, dressed in white and gold, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her silver skin seemed pale. Her glowing eyes seemed dim. She was nervous, though she would never admit it. "You look beautiful," said her younger sister, who stood behind her. "I look like a sacrifice," replied. Touched her shoulder. "You are saving millions of lives today. That is not a sacrifice. That is a gift." Smiled weakly. She loved her sister, always knew the right thing to say. The ceremony took place in the grand hall of the palace. Representatives from both sides filled the room. On one side stood the tall and silver and proud. On the other side stood the humans, short and colorful and loud. And in the middle stood. He was not what expected. She had imagined a warrior, thick with muscle and covered in scars. Instead, she found a quiet man with kind eyes. He was taller than most humans. His hair was black and his skin was the color of warm earth. When he smiled at her, she felt something strange in her chest. "Hello," he said simply. His voice was soft. "Hello," she replied. The ceremony was short. Words were spoken. Vows were made. Rings were exchanged. When it was over, was married to a human, a species she had never met, a man she did not know. The celebration lasted long into the night. Watched her new husband from across the room. He moved through the crowd with ease, talking to and humans alike. He laughed often. He listened carefully. He seemed genuinely interested in everyone he met. "He is charming," whispered, "for a human." "He is a diplomat," said. "Charm is his job." But she could not deny that something about him interested her. When she tried to read his mind, something she did automatically with everyone, she found nothing. Not a wall like some species built to protect their thoughts. Just nothing, like trying to grab smoke. Strange, she thought. Later that night, when the guests had gone and the palace was quiet, found herself alone with her new husband. They stood in the royal chambers, surrounded by ancient paintings and silk curtains. "I know this is not what you wanted," said. He stood by the window, looking at the stars just as she had done 3 days ago. "A marriage to a stranger, a human no less." "It is what I chose," said, "to end the war." He turned to face her. His eyes caught the starlight, and for a moment they seemed to glow, but that was impossible. Humans did not have glowing eyes. "I will be a good husband to you," he said. "I promise." "And I will be a good wife," she replied, "whatever that means between our peoples." He smiled. It was a warm smile, full of something she could not identify. "I think it means we figure it out together." Nodded. She did not know this man. She did not know his people. She did not know what the future held. But standing there in the starlight, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. In another part of the galaxy, the Galactic Council received news of the wedding. The 12 ancient beings who ruled over all known space gathered in their dark chamber. "It has happened," one of them said. "The princess has married a human." "Then she has doomed herself," another replied. "Should we warn her?" "No, let her discover the truth on her own. Let her learn why humans are forbidden." The chamber fell silent. In the darkness, something old and terrible began to wake. The first month of marriage was strange. Had expected awkwardness and silence. She had expected two strangers living separate lives under the same roof. Instead, she found something unexpected. She found a friend. Was easy to talk to. He asked questions about culture and listened carefully to her answers. He told stories about Earth, about blue oceans and green forests and cities that reached the clouds. He made her laugh with silly jokes. He made her think with deep questions. But there were things about him that did not make sense. It started with small things. One morning, woke early and found in the garden. He had been awake all night. She knew this because she had checked on him at midnight, and he had been sitting in the same spot, staring at the flowers. "Did you not sleep?" she asked. "I did," he said, "a little." "A little. Humans need 8 hours of sleep. I read this." He smiled. "I only need 4, maybe 5. That was odd, but let it go. Perhaps he was different from other humans. Perhaps diplomats trained themselves to need less rest. Then came the incident with the knife. They were having dinner together, was cutting fruit with a small blade. His hand slipped and the knife cut deep into his palm. Blood poured out, red and bright. "Oh," jumped from her seat. "Let me call the healer." "No need," said calmly. He grabbed a napkin and pressed it to the wound. "It is not deep." "I saw it, it was very deep." But when he lifted the napkin a minute later, the wound was already closing. The skin was pulling together like magic. By the time dinner was over, there was only a thin pink line where the cut had been. "How did you do that?" demanded. Looked at his hand as if seeing it for the first time. "Humans heal fast." "Not that fast. I have read the medical reports. Human wounds take days to heal, weeks sometimes." He was quiet for a moment, then he shrugged. "I have always healed quickly, since I was a child. The doctors said I was unusual." Wanted to push further, but something in his eyes stopped her. There was a wall there, not the kind she could sense with her mind, but the kind that comes from pain. Whatever made him different, he did not want to talk about it. She let it go, but she did not forget. The weeks passed, found herself spending more time with than she had planned. They walked in the gardens together. They ate breakfast together. They talked late into the night about everything and nothing. She began to notice other things. He remembered everything, every name of every servant, every date she mentioned, every small detail from their conversations. His memory was perfect like a machine. He rarely got sick. A fever spread through the palace, affecting many and humans alike, never caught it. He seemed to sense danger before it happened. Once, during a walk, he suddenly pulled her away from a path. Seconds later, a heavy branch fell exactly where they had been standing. "How did you know?" she asked, her heart racing. "I felt it," he said. "The wind changed." The wind had not changed, was certain of that. But the strangest moment came on a night when the moon was full. Could not sleep. She wandered the palace halls and found herself near the training room. Light was coming from inside. She looked through the door and saw. He was fighting. Not with another person. He was alone, moving through combat forms with a speed that took her breath away. His body twisted and turned like water. His fists struck the air so fast she could barely see them. This was not human. This was something else. When he finished, he was not even breathing hard. He just stood there, calm and quiet, like he had been taking a gentle walk. Stepped back from the door. Her heart was pounding. What had she married? The answer came 3 nights later. She was in her chambers preparing for bed when she heard sounds outside her door. Shouting, running feet, metal on metal. Then her door burst open. 3 figures rushed in, dressed in black. Assassins. They moved fast, too fast for normal beings. They carried curved blades that glowed with poison. Raised her hand to use her telekinesis, but one of them threw a device at her. It exploded into a net of energy that wrapped around her body. She could not move. She could not use her powers. "The princess dies tonight," one of them hissed, "for the glory of the old empire." The old empire. Extremists who wanted the war to continue, who hated the peace treaty, who hated her marriage to a human. Struggled against the net, but it was too strong. She watched as the first assassin raised his blade. Then appeared. He came through the door like a ghost, silent, fast. The first assassin turned, but too late, grabbed his arm and broke it with a single twist. The sound was like snapping wood. The second assassin attacked with his blade, moved sideways, grabbed the blade with his bare hand and pulled it away. Blood ran between his fingers, but he did not seem to feel it. He used the blade to cut the assassin's throat in one smooth motion. The third assassin tried to run, caught him by the neck and lifted him off the ground. He held him there, feet dangling as if he weighed nothing. "Who sent you?" asked. His voice was calm, cold. The assassin was choking, but he managed to speak. You are not human." His eyes seemed to change. For just a moment they glowed, soft and silver like eyes. "No," he said quietly, "not anymore." Then he snapped the assassin's neck. The room was silent. 3 bodies lay on the floor. Stood among them, his clothes stained with blood that was not all his own. He walked to and gently removed the energy net from her body. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She could not speak. She just stared at him, at his eyes, which were normal brown again, at his hand, which was already healing from the blade cut. He said softly, "Are you hurt?" "What are you?" she whispered. He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was sad. "I do not know," he said. "I have never known." He walked to the window and looked at the stars. His shoulders were heavy with something she could not understand. "But I think," he continued, "it is time we found out together." Looked at the dead assassins. She looked at her husband. She thought about all the strange things she had noticed. The healing, the memory, the speed, the strength. The Galactic Council had warned her. Humans were forbidden for a reason. Now she needed to know that reason. The palace had a library that reached deep underground. It was older than the Empire itself. In its lowest levels were records that no one had read for thousands of years. Walked through the dark halls with a light in her hand, walked beside her. They had not spoken much since the night of the attack. There were too many questions and not enough answers. "These records are forbidden," said. "Even I am not supposed to be here." "But you have the key," observed. "I am the princess. I have keys to everything." She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "What I do not have is permission. My father would be furious." "Then why come here?" Stopped walking and faced him. In the dim light his features looked different, sharper, more defined. "Because I need to understand," she said. "3 men tried to kill me last night. You killed them with your bare hands. You are changing. I can see it. I can feel it." She paused. "I cannot protect us if I do not know what we are facing." Nodded slowly. "Then let us find out." They continued deeper into the library. The air grew cold. The walls were covered in writing from ancient languages, some that even did not recognize. Finally, they reached a door made of black metal. Symbols covered its surface, warnings in 100 different tongues. Pressed her hand to the center, and the door slid open. Inside was a small room. At its center was a single console, glowing with soft blue light. It was connected to the oldest database in the known galaxy, the first archive. "This contains records from before the Galactic Council existed," explained. "From before most species had reached the stars. Some of this information is 10,000 years old." She touched the console and began searching. She entered words like human and forbidden and earth and quarantine. The results made her blood run cold. "Look at this," she whispered. Leaned in to read the screen. His face was calm but could sense his tension. Even without telepathy, she could feel it in the air. The first document was a report from an ancient species called the Builders. They had discovered Earth long before humans developed technology. They had studied humans from a distance, watching them grow from simple creatures to something more. The report said, "Species 7291, known locally as humans, demonstrate unusual adaptive capabilities. Genetic structure appears unstable but functional. Species absorbs beneficial traits from environmental contact. Further study recommended. Classification: interesting but harmless." "Absorbs traits," said. "What does that mean?" Move to the next document. It was from a different species, 1,000 years later. "Warning: Species 7291 has made contact with galactic traders. Unexpected development observed. Humans who bonded with alien species began displaying traits from those species. One human who married a developed minor telepathic abilities within 10 years. Another who bonded with a began showing enhanced physical strength. This appears to be unconscious and cannot be controlled by the human. More study required. Classification upgraded. Potentially concerning." Felt her hands shaking. She moved to the next document, then the next. Each one told a similar story. Humans were not like other species. When they formed deep bonds with other beings, through marriage, friendship, or love, they changed. They absorbed. They adapted. They evolved. Not over millions of years like normal evolution. Over single lifetimes. Sometimes over months or weeks. "Look at this one," said quietly. He pointed to a document dated 3,000 years ago. It was a warning from the Galactic Council itself. "Emergency Order 2714. Species 7291, humans, are hereby classified as forbidden contact. All bonding with humans is prohibited. Marriage to humans is illegal. Physical proximity to humans for extended periods is discouraged. Reason: humans represent an existential threat to galactic stability. Their adaptive abilities are without limit. When bonded with powerful species, humans do not simply gain abilities, they amplify them. A human bonded to a does not become a weak. They become something stronger than any has ever been. If humans are allowed to bond freely with all species in the galaxy, they will eventually possess every ability, every strength, every power. They will become impossible to control. Recommendation: quarantine Earth. Limit human expansion. Do not allow deep bonds between humans and other species. Classification: existential threat. Step back from the console. Her mind was racing. She looked at. He was staring at the screen, his face unreadable. "You are absorbing my traits," she said slowly. "That is why you are changing. The healing, the speed, the strength. Your eyes glowing silver. You are becoming." "Not becoming," corrected quietly. "Something else, something new." He turned to face her. "I did not know this, I swear to you. I thought I was just different, special. I never knew why." "How could you not know? Your government must have these records too." Shook his head. "The Council hid this from everyone, including us. Humans have no idea what we truly are. We think we are weak, ordinary. We have no idea what we become when we bond with others." Thought about this. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had hidden the truth about humanity. They had quarantined Earth. They had started wars to keep humans contained. They had created propaganda to make other species fear humans. All because they were afraid of what humans could become. "The war," whispered. "The 100-year war between our peoples, do you think?" "I think the Council wanted it to happen," said. His voice was hard. "They wanted our species to hate each other, to fear each other, to never form bonds, because if a human and a truly bonded—" He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Looked at the man she had married, the stranger who had become a friend, the friend who was becoming something more. She had married him to stop a war. She had expected nothing but political convenience. Instead, she had triggered something ancient, something the galaxy had feared for 10,000 years. "What do we do now?" she asked. Took her hand. His grip was warm and steady. When she looked into his eyes, she saw something there she had not seen before: determination, purpose. "Now we find out how deep this goes," he said, "and then we decide what kind of future we want to build." Nodded. She did not know what was coming. She did not know what would become. She did not know if the Galactic Council would try to stop them. But she knew one thing. She was not afraid. For the first time in her life, she had found something worth fighting for. And she would not let anyone take it away. The changes came faster now. Every morning watched her husband and noticed something new. His eyes held their silver glow longer. His movements became smoother, more graceful. Sometimes, when he was deep in thought, objects around him would shift slightly, as if pushed by an invisible hand. He was developing telekinesis, just like a... But it was more than that. Was a trained telepath. She had studied her powers for centuries. She knew exactly how strong a mind should be. Was already stronger. "Try again," she said. They were in the private training room, far from curious eyes. Stood in the center, surrounded by metal balls floating in the air. He took a breath and closed his eyes. The balls began to spin, slowly at first, then faster. They formed patterns, circles, spirals, shapes that twisted in ways had never seen. "Focus on control," said, "not just power." Nodded. The balls moved with perfect precision now. He opened his eyes, silver and glowing, and smiled. "I feel like I am learning to walk again," he said. "Everything is so clear, so sharp. I can feel the metal. I can feel the air. I can feel..." He paused. "I can feel you." His heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "Your mind, your emotions. You are worried about me. You are afraid of what I am becoming." He let the balls drop gently to the floor. "You wonder if I am still the man you married." She looked away. He was right. She had been thinking exactly that. "I cannot hide my thoughts from you anymore," she said quietly. "You never could," admitted. "But I chose not to look. I respected your privacy." He walked to her and took her hands. I am still me. The changes are physical, mental, but my heart is the same. I am still the man who promised to be a good husband. I still want to keep that promise." She looked into his silver eyes. They were strange and beautiful and terrifying. But behind them, she saw the same kindness she had noticed on their wedding day. "I believe you," she said. He smiled. It was a warm smile, human, despite everything still human. But their peace did not last. 3 days later came to them with news. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency meeting," he said. "They know about the wedding bond. They know about the changes." Felt cold, how? "Spies, there are always spies. Your Highness," he hesitated. "They are calling for action. Some are demanding that be eliminated before he becomes too powerful." Stood very still. "Eliminated," he repeated. "Killed," said bluntly. "I am sorry, sir, but you should know the truth. They fear what you are becoming. They have feared it for 10,000 years." Stood and faced her advisor. "My husband is not a threat. He has done nothing wrong." "He does not have to do anything wrong," said sadly. "He simply has to exist. That is enough for the council. They fear potential, princess. They always have." That night and sat together on their balcony, watching the stars. The same stars that hid enemies who wanted them dead. "I should leave," said quietly. "If I go, they might leave you alone. The war is over. The treaty is signed. You do not need me anymore." "Do not be foolish," replied firmly. "If you leave, they will hunt you, and they will never trust the peace treaty again. Our marriage was the foundation of this peace. If it breaks, the war begins again." "Then what do we do?" Thought for a long moment. "We become too strong to attack." Looked at her with surprise. "What do you mean?" "The council fears your potential. They want to stop you before you reach it." She turned to face him fully. "What if we embrace it instead? What if you become everything they fear?" "You want me to grow stronger." "I want you to become unstoppable." Eyes were fierce. "They will send assassins again. They will send fleets. They will do everything they can to destroy you. The only way to survive is to become so powerful that attacking you would be suicide." Was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was uncertain. "I do not know if I can control that much power." "Then I will help you," took his hand. "We will train together. We will learn together. Whatever you become, you will not become it alone." He looked at her with something like wonder. "Why are you doing this? You married me for politics, for peace. You did not ask for any of this." Smiled softly. "No, I did not ask for it, but I have come to realize something over these months." "What?" "You are not just my political husband anymore. You are my partner, my friend." She squeezed his hand. "And I protect what is mine." The training intensified. Every day, pushed to new limits. She taught him meditation techniques that used to focus their minds. She showed him combat forms that used telekinesis as a weapon. She helped him explore the depths of his new mental abilities. And he grew. His telekinesis became so strong he could lift ships. His telepathy became so sharp he could sense minds across the planet. He developed abilities that no had ever possessed: the power to heal others with a touch, the power to see possible futures, the power to move through space itself. But the most terrifying change was the simplest. He stopped aging. "Your cells are regenerating faster than they decay," said, studying the medical reports. "You are not just healing, you are renewing like a—" "Will I live as long as you?" asked. "Longer, perhaps. You are absorbing everything: strength, speed, mind powers, longevity." She set down the reports. "You are becoming a new species, something that has never existed before." He stood by the window, looking at his hands. Human hands still, but capable of things no human had ever done. "I'm afraid," he admitted. Walked to him and put her arms around him from behind. She rested her head against his back. "So am I," she whispered, "but we will face it together." Outside their window, far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council made its final decision. The human would not be allowed to reach his full potential. A fleet was assembled, the largest fleet in galactic history. War was coming again, and this time there would be no treaty. Only total destruction. The fleet appeared at dawn, stood on the palace balcony and watched the sky fill with ships. There were thousands of them. Battleships, destroyers, carriers. Every major species in the Galactic Council had sent their finest vessels. It was the largest military force ever assembled in one place. All of it here to kill one man. "They are demanding surrender," said who stood behind her. His voice was hollow. "They say if we hand over, they will spare the planet." "And if we refuse?" asked, though she already knew the answer. "They will destroy everything. The palace, the cities, the entire empire." Watched the ships. They were close enough now to see their weapons charging. Great cannons that could level mountains. Missiles that could crack continents. The council had not come to negotiate. They had come to end this. "Where is my husband?" she asked. "Here." Stepped onto the balcony. He wore simple clothes, white and loose. His eyes glowed steady silver. His face was calm, almost peaceful. "I will not let them destroy your world because of me," he said. "And I will not let them take you," replied. "Then we stand together." He took her hand. She felt power flowing through him, vast and deep, like an ocean beneath a quiet surface. In the months since their wedding, he had grown beyond anything she could measure, beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. But was it enough? The fleet opened fire. 1,000 weapons fired at once. The sky turned white with energy, closed her eyes expecting death. It did not come. She opened her eyes and saw standing with one hand raised. The energy blasts had stopped. They hung in the air, frozen like fireflies caught in glass. Thousands of them. Millions. Enough power to destroy a planet held perfectly still by a single man. Hal whispered. Did not answer. He simply turned his hand and the energy blasts reversed direction. They flew back toward the fleet, not to destroy but to disable. Ship after ship went dark as their weapons exploded harmlessly. Engines failed. Systems crashed. In seconds, the entire fleet was crippled. "This is your one warning," said. His voice was quiet, but it echoed across space itself. Every being in the fleet heard him, every being on the planet, every being in the galaxy who was watching. "I do not want war. I do not want death. I want peace. The same peace I married for. The same peace my wife sacrificed for." He lowered his hand. The fleet drifted helplessly, unable to move or fight. "Go home," he continued. "Tell the council what you saw today. Tell them that humans are no longer forbidden. Tell them that the quarantine is over." His eyes blazed silver. "And tell them that if they ever threaten my wife or my people again, I will not be so gentle." Silence, complete and total silence. Then slowly the fleet began to retreat. One ship at a time, then 10, then hundreds. They limped away into space, their great weapons useless, their pride shattered. The invasion was over before it truly began. On the balcony, let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Her knees felt weak. She had been prepared to die. She had been prepared to fight. She had not been prepared for this. "You held back," she said quietly. "I did not want to kill them," replied. "They were afraid. Fear makes people do terrible things." He turned to face her. "I know what fear feels like. I will not become the monster they expect." Looked at her husband. This man who had been a stranger. This man who had become something impossible. This man who held the power to destroy fleets and chose mercy instead. "I love you," she said. The words surprised her. She had not planned to say them, but they were true. Somewhere in the chaos of the past months, she had fallen in love with him. Smiled, it was a human smile, warm and gentle and real. "I love you too," he said. "I think I have since the beginning." He pulled her close. and they stood together as the last ships disappeared from the sky. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The fleet had been defeated. The human had shown power beyond imagination, and he had shown mercy. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Some members wanted to send another fleet, larger than before. Others argued that it was pointless. Still others called for negotiation, for a new understanding. In the end, they sent a single representative, a being named Old and Wise, who had been on the council for 3,000 years. He arrived at the palace and knelt before and, "We were wrong," he said simply. "For 10,000 years we feared what humans could become. We tried to control you, contain you, destroy you, and all we did was prove our fears right." He raised his head. "You have every reason to hate us, to punish us, to take revenge." Shook his head. "I have no interest in revenge. I only want peace." "Peace," repeated, "even after everything we have done." "Especially after everything you have done." Stepped forward and helped the old being to his feet. "Fear is a disease. It spreads and corrupts and destroys. The only cure is understanding." He smiled. "Let us understand each other, not as enemies, not as forbidden species, as neighbors." Stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "You are truly something new," he said. "Something the galaxy has never seen." "Something better, I hope," replied. In the months that followed, everything changed. The quarantine on Earth was lifted. Humans spread across the galaxy, forming bonds with every species they met. They adapted. They evolved. They grew. And they did not become monsters. They became bridges, connections between species that had never understood each other. They absorbed differences and transformed them into strengths. They showed the galaxy that diversity was not a weakness to be feared, but a power to be embraced. Watched it all from her palace balcony. Her husband stood beside her as he always did now. Together, they ruled an empire that was no longer just. It was something new, something better. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had not married?" she asked. Considered the question. The war would have continued. Millions more would have died. The council would have remained in power. Humanity would have stayed forbidden. "And you would not be what you are now." "No," he took her hand, "but I would not trade this, any of it, the fear, the pain, the uncertainty." He looked at her with silver eyes full of love. "It all led to you." Smiled and leaned against him. Above them, the stars shone bright and endless. She had married a human to stop a war. She had discovered why his species was forbidden. And together, they had changed the galaxy forever. This was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning.